Hey guys, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this. It has been a while since I have been able to do a AM Devo. Actually, I haven't been able to do it all this week. I've been traveling and a lot of things are happening for cycle breaking and it's becoming its own machine. And I'm so excited. Can't wait to share what's happening with you guys in that. But I want to address something that I wasn't sure if I was going to say anything about it, but I feel like I have to. I think it's very important that I do. This past weekend, Louie Giglio, Lecrae, Dan, Kathy sat down to have a conversation. White blessing, white privilege was brought up. Everyone who follows them, or even if you really don't now, has heard about it in some way. I want to get straight to the point. A few years ago, I was on a staff at a church, and had been there about 3 or 4 years, and it came up in a leadership conversation that if I were a white male playing the guitar, I would be a better fit for the church and could help the church grow, probably. Sure. After that, there were a lot of unique conversations and things that went on. About 2, 3 years down the road after that beautiful moment, the time came for my wife and I to move on. The senior pastor of that church, who's still there now, approached me randomly one day and said, we want you to resign and we want you to express that by telling the church the Lord's calling you guys somewhere else and all these different things. My wife and I did not agree to do that. I said, if you really want me going, you're going to have to fire me. This is the pastor who married us, blessed our kids. And so, yeah, a lot of depth. In doing that, the narrative had to change. This happened on a Tuesday. That Thursday, come to the conclusion that I was out of control. I was a radical, basically, hard to lead. I was a mad black man. Well, how do you know that, Frank? An email went out to set that up. But the day I came to collect my things on that Thursday, a police officer was there to escort me around to protect the pastor. When you think about the place that the church plays in this season and in this moment, it's huge. I haven't said things for years out of fear. Why? I want to serve the church. But we have this hush-hush custom that floats around sometimes, or this label that that person's difficult. And it really hits hard when it's a black male. Lecrae has spoken up many times for the black community. If it had not been for Lecrae and some of the things he has done as a black male for ministry, I'm pretty sure there's certain places I wouldn't have even been able to step. I've been blessed to be the first black male to step into some pulpits. I see that as an opportunity for me to hopefully tear down walls that the enemy uses, that racism bleeds in. Lecrae's done that same thing. He has spoken out numerous times against police brutality, including not wanting to perform and showing up to performances for organizations who took out content from live broadcast of things that were said by other black males on that specific topic. Where does Louie come into this? For years, I would attend the Passion Conference when I was young enough to, and I would always sit in the room or in the audience and dream, trust, and seek the Lord, because I knew there was a racial divide in the part of town in Arkansas where I grew up, in the community where I grew up. And all I wanted to do was serve the Lord. But there really wasn't a lot of space for a black male. It's crazy how that followed me to Tennessee. I remember one night, as Chris Tomlin was leading My Chains Are Gone, we were in Atlanta. There was a black male who came out on the stage. We were outside under the stars. And he started singing, I think, verse 3 or something. But in that moment, I wept. Because for me, small town kid from Arkansas, I saw that there could be an opportunity for me as a black male to be valued for my calling and my heart for the Lord. Louie was leading that ministry then, and that opportunity would happen in that moment. If you fast forward pretty much about 2-3 years ago, Travis Green is leading worship at Passion. I cried. Why? Because it will forever be stamped on my heart that if I was a white guy playing the guitar, then the Lord could use me for the kingdom. I literally got to meet Travis Green a few months after that, randomly at the Dove Awards, and he didn't know who I was, but I walked up to him and I said, thank you for who you are what you're doing, because the Lord is using you to tear down walls that you have no clue how he's using you. I haven't said things over the years out of fear because, I don't know what to do, how to speak up, afraid of what people will say after the conversation. I no longer am afraid to speak up. I fear the Lord more than I fear man. My boys matter to me more than anything, and I refuse to allow them to walk through things I've walked through. The conversation of white blessing was definitely not something honoring, and it really was offbeat with the heart of what I hope and believe, and will say I trust that Louie and Lecrae and Dan were after. But this cancel culture that we have is the exact same hurtful culture that we as people of color are asking white people to entertain and understand. We want to roll out truth, but we don't want to give out grace. That won't change anything. You see, in that moment, I'm seeing people say, well, Lecrae should have spoke up. Lecrae has spoken up. And in that moment, the weight that I know he was feeling, because I've felt it, the way you carry yourself will reflect a godly man or the stereotypical mad black man. He was in a lose-lose no matter how he chose to act. So Lecrae, I actually thank you. I thank you for deciding to hold yourself together and to tear down more walls. So now that as people are understanding the hurt that the black community and people of color have felt, even in that moment, you were able to show grace and press through and see the bigger picture of what you were there to do. Louie, I want to say to you, thank you for your humility. But I can also go back and look at your track record and say you've involved deeply a lot of people of color, not just to have that token one. The two of you have led ministries that I trust and believe the Lord has used to bless me personally. At the end of the day, we have cycles and hang-ups and hurts in our lives that keep us sometimes from giving grace and truth. My desire is for us to break those cycles. I'm pretty sure that me posting this clip is going to cause some tensions in my life and in my path. But as I said earlier, from this point on in my life, I no longer care to be a slave to the lender. I no longer care to be prideful and afraid to speak up. Why? Because the love I have for my boys matters more. I will not allow my sons to walk in the steps that I've had to walk in. If we really want to see race and restoration in this nation and in this world, we have to give grace and truth. We have to have conversations. I'm definitely open and willing to have a conversation. If we want to see healing, it starts with us. See you guys tomorrow.